Imagine a group of tech geniuses. We're talking mathematicians, researchers, people who have worked for NASA and Google. On paper, they're some of the smartest people on the planet, but they've also been called a trans-vegan death cult, a group linked to a string of absolutely brutal murders across the country. How on earth does that happen? That's a direct quote from someone who witnessed the aftermath of an attack on an 80-year-old landlord. An attack with a samurai sword. And believe it or not, that was just the beginning of the violence. And it all comes down to this number: 6. That's right, 6 people dead across 3 different states, all tied back to this one incredibly strange and dangerous group. So the big question is, how did a collective of brilliant minds from the tech world spiral into a murderous cult? Let's get into it. The whole thing really exploded onto the national scene in the dead of winter on a remote Vermont highway during what should have been a totally routine traffic stop. So picture this. It's January on Interstate 91. It's freezing cold, and you're less than 10 miles from the Canadian border. So U.S. Border Patrol is keeping a close eye on things. Agent David Mayland, an Air Force vet, he spots this blue Prius. Now, this car is already on law enforcement's radar because a nearby hotel had called in a tip that people in it were armed and walking around in tactical gear. So Mayland pulls them over. Inside are 2 women, Teresa Junglut and Ilea Bale, who was actually a quantitative trader from Germany. As the agents start to approach the car, the entire situation just explodes. Without any warning, there's gunfire from inside the Prius. A simple traffic stop instantly becomes a deadly firefight right there on the highway.
And when it's all over, Agent Mayland is dead, the passenger, Ilea Bilal, is also dead, and the driver, Teresa Junglut, is wounded and immediately taken into custody for murder. This one incredibly violent moment just ripped the lid off a much bigger, much darker story that stretched across the entire country.
So, to understand this, we have to go back to the beginning. This group didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It actually grew out of this very niche intellectual movement right in the heart of Silicon Valley. Yeah, that's the big question, right? How do you go from writing code and debating philosophy to actual murder? Well, the answer seems to start with one very charismatic and, as it turns out, very dangerous person. This is Jack Lasota, who went by Ziz. Ziz was a skilled hacker, a computer science grad, and was deep in the tech scene. And Ziz took these philosophical ideas that were floating around Silicon Valley and twisted them into something that could justify murder. The whole Zizian thing came out of this subculture called rationalism. The basic idea is that human thinking is kind of buggy. Our emotions, our biases, they're all like flaws in the code that get in the way of pure logic. Rationalists believe you can basically debug your own brain to make perfect decisions. And here is how that idea gets poisoned. Ziz took that core concept and just warped it. First, Ziz declared that empathy wasn't a human strength. It was a software bug that needed to be eliminated. Second, logic was placed above all morality. And that leads to step 3, the terrifying conclusion. If your goal is logical, then any harm you cause to get there is perfectly fine. The end completely justifies the means, even murder. And pretty soon, this abstract, dark philosophy turned into very real, very brutal bloodshed, starting with their first major act of violence. So the group was living on a property in California owned by an 80-year-old man named Curtis Lind. First, they used the pandemic eviction ban as a logical excuse to just stop paying rent. Then, when an arrest warrant was issued, Ziz faked her own death. We're talking a full-on newspaper obituary about a boating accident, just to disappear. The tension with the landlord kept building until it all just exploded in November 2022. And this right here shows you the absolute insanity of their worldview. Their stated belief was to enforce altruism and veganism, supposedly for the good of all living things. Their actual action? Luring their elderly landlord over to fix a supposed water leak and then ambushing him with a katana, stabbing him nearly 50 times and cutting out his eye. Now, what's incredible is that Curtis Lind actually survived. During the attack, he managed to pull out his own handgun and fire back in self-defense. He killed one of his attackers, a former Google employee named Emma Borhanian, and he wounded another. The police sided with Lind, and 2 Zizians were charged with attempted murder. But that wasn't just a one-time thing. With 2 of their members now facing trial, the Zizians' logical solution was to start a multi-state killing spree. basically to clean up their own mess. Just look at this map of their violence. A month after that first attack, the parents of another Zizian member are found executed in their Pennsylvania home, reportedly to get an inheritance to fund the group. 2 years later, the landlord, Curtis Lind, is finally murdered. And just days after that, Agent David Malland is killed in that shootout in Vermont. 6 deaths, all connected by this one twisted ideology. So why did they go back and murder Curtis Lind? The reason is just chillingly simple. He was the star witness in the attempted murder trial against the Zizians who attacked him the first time. In their minds, the most rational way to win the trial was just to eliminate the witness. And this is what you get with intelligence without empathy. A trail of bodies stretching from California all the way to the East Coast. And it finally triggered a massive nationwide manhunt for Ziz and the core members of the group. And it all ended when a property owner in Maryland just called the cops on a suspicious white van trying to camp on his land. When police showed up, they found Ziz Lasoda, very much alive, along with Michelle Zyko, the daughter of that murdered couple from Pennsylvania, and another member. The van, by the way, was reportedly filled with firearms. So that's where we are now. 6 people are dead. The leader, Ziz, is in custody. Several other members are in jail, facing murder charges for killing Curtis Lind and Agent Mayland. And the FBI is still trying to unravel the full extent of this cult's crimes. In the end, the story of the Zizians is just a terrifying case study. It's a chilling reminder that raw intelligence, when it's completely stripped of any humanity, of any empathy, it doesn't lead to some higher state of being. It just becomes a more efficient and a much more horrifying form of brutality.